Tank video. Yeah, man. Back to this whole the shapeshifters, ritual cannibalism, and vampirism. Uh, Basically, this is the ancient forms of transhumanism. It's based on witchcraft as well, pharmakia. Because if you look at ancient witch recipes for like medicines or chemicals, if you see in the cartoons, they're always like, look, they what do they throw in there? They throw newt's foot, bat wing, snake blood. So basically, it's using blood and then all different herbs and things and mixing them together to get certain effects. And this comes from the angels. The angels, the Watchers, and Enoch taught man this stuff. And it's like since the angels were attracted to the women were taught first. That's why I mean, you look at Zeus supposedly knocked up a bunch of broads and he would turn into a beam of light. And I was thinking to myself, is there anything similar to that today that happens to women? Alien abductions. They say a beam of light beams them up and they say they do sexual things to them. So, but supposedly these angels did all these genetic modifications. They made giants. They made beasts that were terrible, and they just all they did was devour everything. And basically, before the flood, the earth was in total ruin and chaos, like total environmental disaster, and just total like it's hell on earth. Like everything devoured itself is basically what it said. It was just like a big uh it was just like a big slaughter, like a blood everywhere, evil everywhere. Everything had become corrupted, and it's through. They said they mixed things that they shouldn't have mixed, and then you look at Greek mythology. They tell you Greek mythology is it's just mythology, but the more you really look into it, it's more like it's just historical information, kind of like Indians. They tell you things like ancient accounts. I mean, and they say, Indian lore. You know what I'm saying? And some of it is lore, but some of it's based on real events. You know what I'm saying? It's just hard to distinguish, man, because it's just lost and it's obscured in history. It's just like the giant bones. They crush them, go throw them in New York Harbor. They do the same thing with the Indian knowledge. They don't want it coming out. You know what I'm saying? They intentionally try to dumb it down, keep it capped down. You know what I'm saying? Like it's one of the reasons why I make certain videos like this and kind of throw some of that element in, because since it's close to my heart, that topic anyway, man. You know what I'm saying? Because and plus I see it's like someone's got to step in and try to remember the days of old and then apply them to now. You know what I'm saying? There's you're supposed to remember certain things. You know what I mean? And it's a big thing about what's going on right now. It's like man don't even know we forgot. You know what I'm saying? And that's some of the reason why the stuff's going down anyway. But all right, Indians, for instance, they had this term. It's called Manitou or Manadao, which basically it means it doesn't mean a ghost like a spirit. Like some people say a spirit might be a ghost, but I'm not. Even though maybe a spirit could manifest as a specter like a ghost, but maybe it's not a ghost. It's just like there's a force puppeting. You know what I'm saying? That's a possibility there because I've heard of the magicians of medieval times. They would talk about sometimes they would do weird things like sit in the dark and look at a dark mirror, and demons would manifest to them, and they'd look like humans with animal uh, components to them, or sometimes they'd be totally animal. Sometimes they look like an alien. Sometimes they look like a gray. You know what I mean? There's a bunch of different descriptions of these things, and basically it's in the mind of the magician. You know what I'm saying? Because these things really don't have a body, but they try to uh, communicate with you through imagery. You know what I'm saying? I guess you know what I'm saying. I mean, just think your imagination. You know what I'm saying? If you let that it run wild, you can see all kinds of things with your mind. Just you can't every thought. Not every thought you should hold to. Some of them you should just let them go. Like that was a whack thought. I'm just gonna forget I ever even had it. Anyway, Manitou. The Manitou they're basically like angels. And in the book of Jasher or in Jubilees, it talks about how like God's got angels and spirits. They're called spirits actually in Enoch as well. It's interchangeable. You know what I'm saying? Like angel really just means messenger. So uh there's basically all these beings and they got all these jobs, man. You know what I'm saying? Just like man is supposed to have a job as well, dude. But one of those things is just to live, dude, and not pollute the planet, man. We are supposed to have a sort of balance with nature. You know what I'm saying? And with each other. And we are supposed to address everything uh in love and with like a kindred kind of spirit. You know what I'm saying? But since greed exists, it's the money. The root of all evil is love of money. But after that, when money doesn't count, what is it? Things like bloodlust, power, control. Some people do get drunk on this chaos. You know what I'm saying? And these are some examples of people and things. So in Greek mythology, man, you got composite creatures like satyrs. You know what I'm saying? And in the book of Isaiah, he mentions the word satyr in it. You know what I mean? And it's even used more in other books, but in the Bible picked it up as well, dude. So satyr is in there, and basically that's like a person half person, half animal, like with horns. So right now, or not too long ago, I seen this show about these things called sheep squatches, and it's basically like a Sasquatch, but it's got sheep horns and it's got big claws, man. And that's a description of a satyr. You know what I'm saying? So that's kind of weird. Some people say those are shapeshifters. Those are people who sold their soul to be able to transform. Like the old werewolf legend when the moon's full, people get all crazy. But yeah, this is one of the things that got me even talking about this. Was I was watching X-Files, and it was the werewolf episode, and the fact that it was on the res was kind of funny. You know what I'm saying? They did a decent job about describing the relationship between the Indians and the federal government. But I don't know. It's still Hollywoodified. You know what I'm saying? But basically, it's the old werewolf legend. You know what I'm saying? Which like that comes from France, from the story I was talking about with the kid that put on the this coat and he was killing people, eating them. Uh, and there's another one where there was this beast running around, and they don't really know what it was. It was just a beast that was killing people supposedly for a while. And if you look at that, that's kind of like that could have been a political weapon. That it's like they say somebody was telling me down in Daytona they got someone called the Daytona Slasher, but really it's like it's a boogeyman like Osama, like Tim Osmond. It's just like basically, all right, anyone who dies and we don't have a suspect, we'll blame it on the slasher. So it's kind of like it's Kaiser Soze, which is kind of weird. Uh, but it's same thing, like people do bad things and then they say, oh yeah, so the devil made me do it. I mean, did he? Or are they just using that so they might get they'll looking for a scapegoat. You know what I'm saying? But you keep seeing this stuff pop up over and over again. These tales of the vampire, like the person who can hypnotize. They can it's almost like they can just show up out of nowhere. This sounds like demons. Angels also show up out of nowhere, but There's fallen angels. You know what I'm saying too, and there's demons and these spirits of all these things that died, that were alive when the earth was devouring itself during this Genesis 6 Watchers Nephilim takeover invasion, and it's genetic tampering, and then there's supposedly a lot of monsters and things and vampires. Like this word Rephaim means, basically it means the living dead, or to consume blood. And there's a lot in Jubilees that talks about about blood, man. How you don't mess with it. It's got spirit in it. It's don't touch it. I mean, because you're opening yourself up to influences from the other side, man. These spirits that they can, like the word demon. It's a Greek word, and it means like knowledge. It means like knowledge from nowhere, basically. But it's not from nowhere. It's like there's things, man. Like if you entertain them, and it's like they can use you for something. It's like basically it's harvesting life force energy or something, or there's obviously some kind of exchange going on, or why, you know what I'm saying, in the first place, you know what I mean. But there's another example of animal and possession. There's this girl in Acts that's possessed with something called the Python spirit, and it gave her the ability to like predict the future or whatever, or tell people, give them warnings or something, or give them information. And it was called the Python spirit. And nowadays, you hear something called this the Kundalini. I mean, is the Python spirit and the Kundalini related? Wouldn't surprise me. But that's more like channeling and possession. Like maybe in order to channel for some people, they first have to be possessed, because it's not really you. Whatever's possessing you is opening the door for the other thing to communicate the information. So maybe it's a double process. You know what I'm saying? It's tag team action going on for you. But let me see. We got in the Bible. We also got something called the Lion Men of Moab, and I think about this a lot. I mean, where these guys just like acrobats. You know what I'm saying? Like, or like the guys in Africa who hunt lions with spears. You know what I'm saying? They're mighty lion like themselves to be able to do that. I mean, is that just, or were these things actually genetic modified cat people? You know what I'm saying? You see in Egypt, they have all the animorph type, in their god, their of all those Egyptian gods, man. Anyway, and even in the Greeks, some of the gods they got like totem animals where they can kind of shift into these animals, or like Tupac Amaru, the shimmering serpent. Supposedly, this guy could appear as an Aryan. He could appear as a local native, and he could also appear as a serpent reptilian thing, which is pretty crazy, because I mean that's the shapeshifter thing right there. Reptilians have the ability to shapeshift, supposedly, and that's kind of a connection to this thing. Maybe some of these spirits potentially are reptilian, and that's where they teach people these practices. But just like that kid, man, that put on the wolf cloak, there was a special bunch of the Vikings, and they were called berserkers, and basically they were like shamans, and they would channel and get possessed through drug use, and they would put on wolf skins, and they would basically they would be fearless and like animalistic. You know what I'm saying? So that's a form of super soldier, demonized super soldiering effect. So I mean, there's definitely a military aspect to this whole blood ritual, Satanism, cannibalism, and it's just terrorism all in general. But I mean, it's even deeper. I mean, the people believe there's something happening, and there could be. I mean, even the Bible supports it.